Thank you, Mark. As far as I know, we don't have a co-speaker for this.
I think we do.
Do we?
Yeah, I think you said that too.
Do we have another speaker? Is it Jeff? All right. I've known Jeff for quite some time too, as it just so happens. We've been members of the same home group. He's been around for quite some time too, and had a few 24 hours in the program of Narcotics Anonymous. He works pretty diligent program himself. He's involved in several service positions in the time that I've known him. He's had service positions at our home group and everything else. And as a general rule, Jeff has a smile on his face. So, here, I'll give you Jeff.
Hi, my name is Jeff. I'm an addict.
Jeff?
Bear with me. Life on life's terms. I walked in here yesterday and found out my wife signed me up for this, didn't tell me. Accepting the things I can't change. I've had to work really hard to deal with life on life's terms, because when I was out there, I was like a master manipulator, and I would control, and I'd be subtle about it, but I'd get my way pretty much, by the things I'd say and little things I'd suggest to people to kind of change their way of thinking over to my way of thinking, and I've had to work really hard to try to keep my fingers out of the pie, I helped with this convention last year, and I think I was only able to make one workshop because I was behind the counter most of the time, and I was late for that one. But so I thought, well, this year I'm going to do it differently. I'll just help, with the committee, and I'm not going to chair a committee, and I'm not going to do this, and I'm going to enjoy the convention, and I'm going to do all these workshops, and well, things didn't work out the way I wanted to. I ended up not helping with the convention, and made me kind of realize that who the fuck am I anyway? This convention will go on whether I'm here or not, and it's going to have its ups and downs whether I'm here or whether I've got my fingers in the pie or not. It's kind of humbling. I think we all have our own ideas about how good we are at certain things, and some things we're better at than others, But I've come to realize that no matter how good I am at one thing, there's probably several people out there that are just as good or better. So I'm not unique, no matter how unique I think I am. Life on life's terms made me realize, I used to, back when I was a Stony, I used to get these books on Oriental meditations and all this Confucius wisdom, and they were always talking about balance and staying in balance and keeping your life in balance. And I really don't think it's anything that I do. I think life balances itself out, I'm working with a guy at my job. He's incarcerated and he's on a work release program. And his family is fabulously wealthy. I'm talking a summer home in Florida, house on Wawasee, jet skis, Corvettes, that kind of shit. And I can't really relate to that lifestyle, And we were talking one day about how other people perceive him as having such an easy life, and he said it's really no different. The highs are higher and the lows are lower, and it all balances out, I've had to work really hard consciously pray more to keep myself out of it, you know, because I still want to stick myself and inject myself into situations that I have no business being in, because I think it should be this way, you know. It's gotten to the point where now I will state my opinion when asked, but otherwise I don't try to change the things that I'm not supposed to be involved in, you know. I had no idea what I was going to talk about when I came up here, so I just said a little prayer. Said, hey, give me a clue, you know. Life on life's terms, man. It's not something that I go home and think about, you know. Life on life's terms is always, to me, it's always been something that happens to you. Well, that's life on life's terms. Like Mark was saying, you know, I think most people's perception of life on life's terms is negative shit, you know. Life on life's terms is also good things. A lot of good things have happened to me since I've come around, since I got a clue. People's perception of me has changed. Some people's. I'm still carrying around baggage from before. You know, I got a phone call a year ago from a place that I used to work when I was using every day. And I had left there 7 years ago, and they said, after I left, I was informed that I'd never be able to work there again because of things that people had said about me. You know, they were saying that I was stealing. They were saying that I was selling coke, things that I wasn't doing, you know. But I had done enough things that I knew that I deserved what I was getting, you know. I just hadn't done those particular things, right? So, but word got out. The people that I used to work with in my immediate department, you know, were all using friends of mine. And when I got clean and stopped hanging around with them, and I got a year in, and then I got 2 years in, and they noticed a difference in me, you know. And when it came time that they needed help, they called me and asked me if I'd come and talk to them, you know. That's something that I never expected would happen again, because the accusations and the innuendo had gone all the way to the owner of this corporation, you know. And I was told that I would never work there again. But I had a meeting with the owner, and they brought me back on, and they're actually paying me. So, I don't know. I don't have any explanation other than this program. If I was still out there, you know, I was getting high at work every day. I was getting my job done. I don't know what the quality of my work was. In my eyes, it was great, you know. It's come to a point where I'm not afraid to ask for help now. Before, I was all powerful and I didn't need anybody's help. I still have fears like anybody else has, dealing with life on life's terms. You know, fear of the unknown and fear of change are still big triggers. But I'm not afraid to pray on it, and I'm not afraid to ask for advice or ask for guidance, because I know that I don't have all the answers, you know, even though I might tell you that I do. You know, life on life's terms, everything that I do, every place I go, you know, I see evidence of it. The other day, you know, good things in life. After getting clean, I finally have money in my bank account. And I was actually, for the first time in my life last year, I was able to buy a brand new lawnmower. I mean, one of those ones where you push the button and pull it, and first pull it starts up, and wow, you know, and it looks all pretty and no scratches, and the stuff doesn't shake off of it, and that's one of those high points in your life, you know. I'm a simple man with simple needs. The lawnmower does it for me. But then life on life's terms, it goes back down, and 3 days ago somebody stole it. You know, but I got to use it 10 times, so I was pissed off for 2 days, and I was starting to obsess with who stole my lawnmower, rather than owning up to my part that I didn't put the son of a bitch away, and I left it in the yard. You know, and I guess the only thing I didn't do was put a sign on it that says "Steal Me." I have to own my part, you know. Probably the most valuable tool that this program has taught me is the Serenity Prayer, and how it relates to the first 3 steps, you know, acceptance and powerlessness and accepting things that I have no control over. Do what I can do. If I can't do it, I can't do it. I don't know. Giving up control was difficult, but I've come to realize that it's not the end of the world, and things are going to move on just fine without me. When I can help out, I'm more than happy to. When I can't, I don't. Accepting things that happen to me as just part of life, good and bad, knowing that it's going to be that way is a plus. Not having expectations that everything's going to be rosy. You know, when I first got clean, everything was supposed to be so good. Everything was going to be great, you know, and understanding in my own mind that things are still going to go on the same way with the highs and the lows, and everything will balance out. I've noticed that the highs aren't as high and the lows aren't as low, and I'm okay with that, you know. One of the things about life on life's terms, you know, one of the most troubling things that I have dealing with is not necessarily life on life's terms for me, but what it does to the people around me, you know, that are having problems, because I'm hurting for them, you know. People in my family that are sick, or people that are having troubles, you know, troubled relationships, or money problems, or job trouble, or mental problems, accepting things. People in the program that I'm close to that are having trouble either staying clean or having trouble dealing with different things, you know, it still hurts me. Pain hurts no matter whether it's mine or somebody else's, you know. Wasn't like that when I first got clean. That's your shit. Doesn't bother me. I'm fine, you know. And it's not like that for me anymore. I see somebody hurting, it still hurts me. Life on life's terms to me means being able to accept the shit that I don't want to happen, because I know it's going to anyway. You know, not having to use over it. Been fortunate so far. But we keep what we have only with vigilance, right? That's all I've got. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Before we open the floor to sharing, I need to remind everyone that you are being taped. If you do not wish to be taped, please let me know so that we can turn the machine off. So if there's anybody that would like to come up here and share on this subject, you're more than welcome.
I'm a recovering addict named Diane. And when I first came around, I also thought things were going to be just sunshiny and rosy, and I stopped using, and I'd get to walk hand in hand into the sunset. And within the first 18 months of my recovery, I think I lost everybody that was near and dear to me in my life, that had been there for me, and including my sponsor. My sponsor went on vacation and was killed by a drunk driver, and I had a really hard time with that. I lost my mom, my dad, or my mom, my grandmother, my grandfather, my marriage, everything just went. And I thought, geez, I must be doing something wrong in this program because I'm not walking hand in hand, and it's difficult and it's painful. And there's a line in the text, someplace. I'm not one of these people that I remember key things because they're important to me, but I can't tell you where the hell they are in there. So go read the book, it's in there, someplace. That says our spiritual, something to the effect, that our spiritual program, our spiritual foundation keeps us buoyant. And for me it's important to remember that buoyancy is not a straight line. When I grew up, my dad had a lot of boats. We always bought 32-footers or better so that it could be classified as a yacht in New Jersey. Not that we had any ego problems in my family, but we had to have a yacht. We spent a lot of time down in Chesapeake Bay and places like that. And I can remember storms coming in and watching the buoys just, rock side to side, and they'd go under, but they always came back up. They were like weevils, And I have to remember that today in my life, that, basically I'm just this weevil, and I wobble a lot. A lot of times I go this way and go under, but I come back up, and go this way and come back up. There's been a lot of losses in my recovery. There's been a lot of good things in my recovery. There's people, I come to Camp Mac, and I can remember, I think the first 3 or 4 years, first person I saw was Mark. There he is. It's like, wow, this is cool, Same person, still there. This program works, And that's one of the gifts that I've gotten here. And that's part of dealing with life on life's terms. I've lost people in recovery. I've lost friends who've gone back out to this disease and died because it's not really a revolving door, though we think so. We don't always get a chance to come back, guys. And I've lost people who have died clean as a direct result of this disease. And going to their funerals and seeing that medallion on their pillow and thinking, I want that. And the only way I'm going to get that is if I keep coming back here and I keep suiting up and showing up and keep remembering that buoyancy isn't about walking hand in hand into the sunset and skipping merrily along through this, that it's dealing with life on life's terms. And I didn't know how to do that back there. I couldn't wake up in the morning. I came to, I passed out. I couldn't get out of bed without doing something, putting something inside my body. If it hurt, man, I got rid of it. I didn't talk about it. I didn't cry about it. God, I did not cry about it because I'm stoic and Welsh and German and whatever other bullshit I was raised with. And you would never hurt me again. You would never have the opportunity, and I would make sure of that. And I heard somebody mention fear, and I denied all fear for the first few years that I was here. But my initial reaction when the shit hits the fan, I put my house up for sale before I came here last year, like in April, the end of April. And I signed a contract till the 31st of December. I live on the water. Thank God I live on the water. I am so grateful for that gift. I live on the river. I have a corner property. It's like 2,400 square feet. This huge old barn I've got, it's really good location. One person looked at that house. One person. You know, and when I put it up for sale, because I still deal with God, it was, you know, I'm putting this up for sale, and if it sells, that means I can get the hell out of Dodge, because I wasn't dealing with life on life terms living in my town. And if it doesn't sell, then I'll learn to live here graciously. And it's that gracious part that I'm having difficulty with, guys. You know, so anybody who knows how to do that, please help me out. And I was angry that it didn't sell. And yet I get a lot of peace from living on the river, and I forgot to look at that gift because I was so busy looking at, this isn't fair. I don't want to be here. There's nothing here. It's culturally a desert, and I want to be where there's something that's not here. Face everything in recovery or fuck everything and run. And my initial reaction is to fuck everything and run. And I think that's why I own 2 homes in that town up until this fall, because I couldn't just pack it up and go. I had to stand still. Remember what you all taught me. Remember what the text has taught me. And to face what's going on in my life and work through it, even though it's painful. You know. And the promise here is that I don't have to pick up. That's it. I don't have to pick up today. And some days that's really hard. My kid came in the house Thursday and said, "Look what I found, Mom. 2 leaves about this size, guys, you know." He said, he was cutting grass for me. "Is this what I think it is?" I said, "Oh no, can't be. Has to have an odd number of leaves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I said, "Whoa." And my mind went, "Ow, where's the rest of that?" And that came out of my mouth. Where's the rest of that shit? You know, can't just have 2 leaves growing on the property. That doesn't happen. I run a treatment foster home. Okay. Some of my kids don't want to be in treatment. Some of my kids are not in recovery, although they are in my home. So I'm figuring somebody dropped some seeds out the window or walking the property or whatever, you know. It's where the rest of that plant. You know, we'll dry it out in the microwave and see if that's really what it is, you know. I knew what it was. You know, it's like, go cut the grass. All of it. You know. But my mind, you know, that diseased part of my mind, you know, it's out there working. That disease is just sitting there waiting, you know. And for me, that's dealing with life on life's terms today. And there's a lot of acceptance in my life today. Because of the kids that I have in my house, I keep adding locks. Every time I put a lock on, I cry. Because I hate it. But that's part of my life, and it's a gift that God's given me to be able to do this work that I do. You know? Because I was looking at child endangerment charges, and thank God that didn't go all the way through, or there's no way I'd be able to do this work, but, you know, for whatever reason, this is the work that I do. You know, and so I keep adding locks. The last lock I added was an alarm. It was like, I don't want another deadbolt on anybody's door. So I put an alarm on it so that if my thief that lives with me should go in there to steal something, the whole house will know, because this big alarm will make this noise and go off. And it's so sensitive that if you walk too heavy across the floor, the sucker goes off. So I had to figure that one out. But, you know, it's how I live today, and coming here and coming to my home group helps me to deal with that. And the river. God gave me this gift about the river, because there are times that that I want to quit. And that troll diseased voice in my head says, you know how to get out of here, man. Just die. That is the solution. And I'll stand at the door and I'll say, you know, I could just walk right out the door and into the river and just keep on walking. And then the river is just such a beautiful gift. And I go, wow, what a beautiful gift. And then I forget to walk out the door and walk into the river. And then I deal with whatever's going on in my home at the time. You know. And sometimes it's lonely. Somebody was talking about being lonely yesterday, you know. And sometimes it gets lonely. My son was very ill last fall. He almost died. And there was no one in my town I could call. That was lonely. That was lonely. You know, and my home group is like an hour and 15 minutes away, and I tried to call somebody from my home group, and the long distance lines were fucked up. I don't know what was going on, but I couldn't get through till the next day. And I realized, not at that time, but in looking back, because that's how I grow in this program, I don't know it when I'm going through it, but I realized that, at that particular time, or at least I believe today, that God wanted me to rely on God. To trust that God was there for me, because I couldn't reach another human being. There was no one in my town I could call, and I couldn't get through the long-distance lines. And the next day, the only way I could get through the long-distance lines was to call the operator and have her make the connection for me, But I have people that love me today and that are there for me, that care about me, that support me, and that help keep me buoyant. But the most important thing that keeps me buoyant, and I learned that through y'all and through the text, is my spiritual foundation. And sometimes I fight and argue with God, and where are you, and why am I all alone, and why isn't there somebody physically here? And during those times, it's because I need to rely that there is a God that, whether I understand it or not, that is there in my life, a power greater than me, that's brought me through and given me a lot of gifts, and has not promised sunshine and happiness and running naked through the woods with all the little fairies out there, and all of that life is life. And today I can get through it clean. And I don't get through it clean alone. I get through it clean because you guys are there, because you've taught me, because you've loved me, and because there are 12 steps and 12 traditions that when I cannot deal with God, that are the good, orderly direction that I need to go in. And y'all taught me that too. Thanks for letting me share.
Anybody else like to come up and share a little wisdom or events that have happened in their life to help them deal with life on life's terms?
Hi, my name is Pam, and I'm an addict.